The US labour participation rate is now 63.3%, the lowest level in 34 years. John Sylvia is the chief economist at Wells Fargo. He joins me now from Charlotte, North Carolina. There's no getting away. These numbers are disappointing, but the core question whenever we see them is, do they presage something worse? Or is it a trend or is it a blip? What's your feeling?
Well, I think Allison's got it right. This is a correction to the optimism that was out there, that the economy was picking up steam. And I liked your point that the pace of job growth is positive, but not as fast as the growth in the labor force overall. So we've got moderate growth in the United States. I think the stock market was pricing in much stronger growth. And again, I think the important point, too, is the unemployment rate fell, but it fell because of labor force participation declining. So I think it's going to force a reevaluation of what is trend growth in the U.S.
Now, that's a pretty serious, long-term difficulty.
It is.
If you have to, I mean, trend growth, what, 2.5%, 3 to 4%, maybe even 4 if you want to go a bit more. But if you're saying medium to long-term trend growth is at, say, 2 to 2.5%, that creates an entirely different scenario for the job numbers.
Well, Richard, I think it's quite right. And not only the job number, but let's put it in context. The last 3 years, the U.S. economy has grown between 2 and 2.5%. Our expectation is another year of 2 and 2.5%. At some point, you have to say, well, this is it. This is what we got, given the current framework in terms of the euro and Asia and policy and regulation and taxes. This is what our framework is. And I think more than just jobs, Richard, the challenge is, how does America pay off its debt or pay off its entitlements with that kind of growth?
You see, there's only one difficulty with lower long-term trend growth, and it's this: intermediate forecasts coming from the Fed. The Fed says it's buying $85 billion of bonds and every bit of rubbish they can find for the next, for the foreseeable future until 6.5%. But if trend growth doesn't pick up, then they're not going to hit the 6.5%.
Well, again, if the 6.5% is a solid kind of number, yes, what happens with labor force participation in that calculation? I mean, do we get the 6.5 simply because people drop out of the labor force? That's a whole different calculation. So, no, it suggests to me that the Fed stays easier for a longer period of time. They will not phase out their purchases of mortgage-backed securities or treasuries this year. They're just going to stay in the game for longer.